Ilongo. It's a pretty weird language. I think the biggest thing with learning the language, learning Ilongo, is because there's not like there's any like books written in Ilongo, or it's not like like reading signs and stuff. But like Ilongo, you just have to talk. Like you just have to be super talkative. It's the only way to learn it is to carry around a little notebook. I just carry around my little pocket, and everyone would make fun of me for it, but I didn't even care. And I would just write down words. Like it was really hard in the beginning because like I'm trying to like pick out words that like I learned at the MTC, but like I just thought native spoke so fast that like it was all just like one long continuous word. But like just slowly like, studying words and just like have your trainer just like teach you some words and like grammar stuff and just keep writing it down, keep on studying it, and then eventually you start being able to pick out some words that natives are saying. But it's not only like just to study those words; is you have to use them as well. Like if you just like study it, if you don't speak to anybody, like you're gonna forget those words easy. So it's more of just like studying, using, listening, just like keep repeating. It's the only way to learn a language, especially a language like Ilongo. Like I remember it was like, I think like my first or second day of the mission field, where my trainer and I are contacting the street, and he just goes and like talks to this lady, and he's like talking to her for like I don't know a couple minutes. And I'm just dead silent. I had zero idea what has been said. Like keep in mind, this is like my second day like in the Philippines, and so like I'm just like I don't know anything. Like I don't know how to say anything. I swear. Like everything I learned in the MTC just like left me at this moment. And then like my trainer, he's Filipino. He just looks over. He's just like talk to her. Like they've already been talking for like 5 minutes, and I'm just like, oh, kamusta, which is like how are you? Like just like a greeting. And like I look so stupid, but like it's okay. Like it's just stuff like that. Like you're just gonna look stupid. Like learning a language, but it's okay. You just that's a part of it though. It's just like Filipinos, like I said, like, they love to like joke, make fun of you. So they were like they'll make fun of you for the language, but like you just have to be a good sport about it. It takes months and months to learn a language. So like as long as you try, like they'll make fun of you for not knowing it, but then like they'll really appreciate like how much you tried to learn it. They'll notice improvements and they'll tell you like, oh, like you're really improving. You're doing good. It's kind of like makes you feel warm inside. Like it's like, weren't you just making fun of me last week for how much I couldn't speak this language? But it was it's a fun language to learn. It's a super fun language to speak though. Like it's like a roller coaster. Like the accent just goes up and down, and it's just fun. You just I loved it so much as it was a blast. Like I've been home for over a year and I still like think to myself like, wow, I learned another language. Like that was really cool. Um, but the biggest thing though with Iloilo mission is that each province is a different language. So it'll say like your mission language is Ilongo, right? In my first area was Ilongo. Um, but like you have like 3 zones in Iloilo, like and that's all straight Ilongo. But when you go out to like another province called Antique, it's called Kinaraya. That's the language, and it's they're like kind of similar, but like kind of not. Like so, my second area was Antique, where I spoke Kinaraya, and so like I had 6 months of speaking it long now. I was like kind of confident in myself, and then like I go to this other place, it's like hey, it's second area, second language, and like I was listening to people talk, and like I felt like I should be able to understand them, but like I couldn't. So that was like kind of frustrating, kind of stressful. But like once you've like got one kind of down, like your ability to pick up a second was like so much faster. Like after 3 months of being in that area, I was like just as good at Korea as I was like at Ilongo. So that was pretty cool. And I stayed there for about 6 months, so I got pretty good at that language. And then I got moved to another province. It's called Aklan. It's kind of like a mix between two languages. You have like Tagalog and you have Aklan. And that's probably like the most stressful time of my mission. Probably is when I first got transferred there. It was like my first 3 areas were 4 different languages. And so I remember just being like unbelievably stressed. Like I was just like mixing all these languages that I knew, and I wasn't making any sense. Like I was trying to study Aklana, and I was trying to study Tagalog, but then like I knew Ilonggo, I knew Kalayan, like it was like all these languages were just like mixed into one, and so like I would say like be like speaking a sentence and like speak like 4 different languages in one sentence. It was just like it was a mess. And so you just kind of like gotta learn how to like divide them out in your brain, you know, to see like what language is what. It's really difficult, I promise, but it's really cool though. The Lord helps you a lot when it comes to learning a language. Um, like the gift of tongues is super real, and members will love you for it. I promise you. Like you just embrace their language, dude, and members are like, "You're a cool dude," and then they'll want to hang out with you and give you referrals. So that's always nice too.
So when it came to language for me, it was just like, I don't know, because like memorizing phrases and stuff didn't really help for me, like me at all. I kind of want to learn like the basics, so like the basic grammar structure and how to use it, but literally the key, because so many people are like, how do I learn the language? And I had people ask me when I was fairly new or like older in the mission, how'd you learn the language quickly and things like this? And I was just like, well, it's simple. If you want to learn the language, you speak the language, right? That's pretty much the best advice you can get. Like, you just have to go out and speak the language. If you don't speak the language, you won't learn it. And speaking it doesn't just mean like only saying things you know. It's trying to like hear what they say and try to repeat it back, if that makes sense. So you hear the way somebody says something and you try to understand why they said it like that. And then go home, study it if you don't get it, and then you go back and you try to use that phrase, you try to use the way that they said it the next day. Because in the Philippines, so in my very last area, I had 2.5, or I had a month and a half left in my mission when I went to Mindoro, my very last area. And every time I went to a different area, they had a different tone they'd use, because it's crazy. It's like in the Philippines, there's like 100 different dialects. So all these people come from different areas, so almost every single different area you'll go to, they'll be using different words. Or they'll like say the word in a different way. So you have to go and you have to find out what it means. And don't be afraid to ask people what it means, because in the Philippines, they love, like, if you're trying to understand their language, they'll do their best to explain it to you. And a lot of them are pretty good at English, so they can tell you in English as well. So ask them what it means, really try to understand why they're saying it the way they're saying it, and then like what it actually means and what they're intending to say, what they want you to understand. And then you have to talk to a lot of people. You can't, like, street contacting is the way I learned to speak Tagalog, to be honest. Because the teaching and stuff you learn in the MTC, like the basic words for teaching, and you'll refine that when you teach people. But if you want to learn how to converse with people, things like that, you should have to talk to everybody. If you're quiet, you'll never learn it. So those are probably the best things I did. And then other than that, just really take language study seriously. My trainer was just a language study fanatic. He would not let me like get off it, and it kind of ticked me off, because like, this is what we did. So at first we started off with like lesson 1. And he's like, okay, teach the first principle of lesson 1 in 1 minute and 30 seconds to me in Tagalog. This is like day 1 of me being in the field. And I was like, oh, I can't do that. So I tried. And then by like the next day, he was like, okay, now you have a minute to do it. And I was like, what? And it was like 30 seconds. And he's like, okay, tell it to me in 10 seconds. Like, how would you basically describe it? And so also it's simplifying your teaching and simplifying the way you should be saying stuff. Because the way they teach it to you in the MTC is really formal. It's really, and it's also like indirect, if that makes sense. It's not as direct as it could be. So you should have to learn the way that they talk and kind of adjust to that. And then really take language studies seriously, things like that. Then just like basic words. Ask your trainer to like make a list of basic words for you. Basic conversational words, like the word makano. Like, that's how much. So I've been I was like in the Philippines, and I had no idea how to ask how much something was. So I mean, I'd basically starve to death. So it took me like a week to figure out how much that, like, how to say how much. So I mean, it's like makano, then like paano, and then like basic like sentences. Because I was like contacting a guy one time on the back of a tricycle. So it's like a motorcycle that they hook up like a cab to, and then like a little side thing. That's how you get around. Super cool. But no, I was just like, and he just asked me, "Saan ka galing?" or like, "Where are you coming from?" Like, where, like, what was I doing before that? And I had no idea what he's saying. It's like the most basic thing, right? So like, "Saan ka galing?" "Saan ka pupunta?" Like, where are you going? Where are you coming from? How old are you? Ilang taon ka na? Stuff like that. There's like really basic things. And if you know all of like the basic stuff, like the basic questions, you can carry on a conversation even if you have no idea what they're saying. They're just like, "Oh, cool, cool," like, "Sige," like, "All right." And then you can ask them another question, right? Until you finally get to teaching about the gospel a little bit and asking if you come over. But yeah.
So it's a lot like Tagalog. Like there's a lot of the same words. There's a lot of Spanish words too, which was helpful. But yeah, it's completely different from English. Like the way that they make sounds and the way that you position your mouth is just really, really different. And I guess it's really hard for people to like Filipinos when they learn English. If they're Cebuano speaking, they have a really hard time learning English just because like the sounds are really different. But yeah, it's just like any other foreign language. The hard part was it wasn't written, and so there wasn't like a book in the MTC that was officially created. It was like the MTC teachers wrote the books, and so I really didn't, like, it was hard because it was only spoken, and you didn't really know, there wasn't set rules about what to say or how to say it. I mean, there's grammar rules, obviously, but it was just different from what I was expecting. I was expecting like a written language and more knowledge about it, I guess. I don't know.